The Dionysus set is actually pretty cool. And it has like a couple of unique abilities and whatnot. I really enjoyed using it, playing it, and kind of like working with it. One of the things that I enjoy even more is when you guys, you viewers, you commenters, you all come out and you just give me your opinions on this stuff. I like using your builds or your different techniques and play styles in order to actually build the things that like you guys talk about here. It's actually a lot of fun. So one such viewer, Brian Harmon, he actually came up with an idea as to how he would like to use the Dionysus set in a build. And I kind of built my own version of it, and I'm not disappointed. It's a lot of fun. So I wanted to share it with you, and hopefully you guys give me some more input as to how you'd like to see this progress. I'm Darkstrider the YouTube Assassin, and we're about to mess around with the Dionysus set. Okay, so here we are with the Dionysus build, and it's actually like really, it's really cool. It actually comes from an idea by Brian Harmon, who is a viewer, commented the other day on the Dionysus set. And as far as what he did, he went with a bunch of crit chance and damage when at full health. And then he also added the engraving convert 50% assassin damage bonus to all damage, which is pretty cool. He says that his crit chance while full health is 85 to 90%, and crit damage while full health is over 500%, which is kind of cool, honestly. So I kind of made like some alterations, and here's what I did. First of all, I actually used the Dionysus Tears, which is the dagger. Has 25% assassin damage, 40% adrenaline per crit, a 2% chance to deal 25% assassin damage on melee hit. And I added the convert 50% assassin damage bonuses to all damage, which is kind of cool. I also went with the Pride of Lion, more assassin damage, adrenaline per hit, rush assassinate chains to one more enemy, and I added 40% damage when attacking from behind. I kind of like to have this kind of theme whenever I'm making an assassin build. I just really do enjoy having the rush assassinate ability, and I enjoy chaining it. It really gets you out of like a lot of danger, and sometimes you just see like a small band of people and you just want to take them out immediately. As far as the bow, I went with the fanged bow. Now, whereas his uses fire, I just added this just because it has the assassin damage. And it's got poison damage, which we really don't use poison damage for this. Basic arrows become poison arrows. I added 20% damage with Rush Assassinate ability, only because Rush Assassinate, like I said, I love to have on a an assassin build, but you could add whatever you wanted. Now, as far as the actual set, here we have the head, and it has 25% damage, 30% damage with daggers, which is good. We added daggers to this build. I added 50% crit damage. Now, the reason I have that is because, as you see, I have both sides filled in as far as doing the Astrakas and actually purchasing the extras from the blacksmith that is in the cave that is actually near this area where I usually go to do these kind of demonstrations. The entire set gives you 100% crit damage with assassination abilities, which is absolutely amazing. Go over to the arm piece, and it has more crit damage, assassin damage, and I added a 10% crit chance. Love having crit on these sorts of builds. You see high numbers whenever you're attacking. This one, more assassin damage, more crit damage. I added a little bit extra assassin damage just because if we're converting 50% of that assassin damage into all damage, it's gonna do like a lot. It's gonna be like pretty out there, pretty wild as far as these kind of builds go. So I had like fun doing that. Again, like I say, with all these things, this is basically a blueprint. I know a lot of people do not like to use legendary armor. They like using epic armor. And like I say, it's kind of hard finding the right rolls on epic armor. So I usually do these builds with legendary gear just so that you could see kind of like a blueprint. Go with what you want, alter it the way you want, find epic gear that kind of matches it or even exceeds it, which is always fun. Uh, the waistband has 25% assassin damage, 100% crit damage while full health. So if you're full health, you're doing some pretty crazy damage. I added 5% crit chance, 25% crit damage while full health because we want to stay in full health while we're doing this, which is a lot of fun. I know normally what I do is I'll add on one of these weapons the 100% or the 100% extra damage but 25% health. I decided not to do it on this one just to see if it's possible, just to see what I come up with. Later on, I'm probably going to add that, though, because I love it. It just gives you so much extra damage. So, let's see. Climbing Vine Greaves, another 25% assassin damage. 100% crit damage while full health, so that's a lot of damage. 6% crit chance while full health. This one actually stinks. As you can see, I need to get some more Ostrakas, and that'll actually increase it, as well as make a couple of purchases from the blacksmith, and we should see about 20% when we have that fully done. As far as the abilities go, again, this is kind of like my OP character, so I've got all the kind of abilities added to it. As far as the assassin tree, you want to have Shadow Assassin, you want to have Rush Assassination, Critical Assassination so that you're able to like sneak up from behind, basically like hide. Stealth Master you really want because you're able to sneak up on them. You're pretty silent. You know, you're able to like do all that kind of stuff if you have this added to your build. Poison, if you are really going with the poison ability, you definitely want to add this, and then you want to add the Poison Mastery. You could just put 1 here, 3 here. All right. This revelation is unnecessary. I usually add it to builds just so that I could see around me, quote unquote, when I see things that, you know, like, or even enemies that like I maybe didn't catch with Icaros. You use this and you're able to like see all kinds of stuff. This you're not going to need. You're definitely not going to need the Call to Arms or the Kronos' Punishment. Hero Strike I usually add onto these builds just because it's good to have like an extra bit of attack, an extra damage kind of thing if you're kind of stuck. If I'm in the middle of like a group and I used my Rush Assassination and it's all used up and there's just that one more guy that's in the way, you could use that. Or if you're trying to escape, sometimes this can make the difference. You knock the dude completely out of the way, which helps out. This you're not going to need. Death Veil I usually use just to hide bodies because it's a lot easier than actually lifting them up and carrying them off. You're not going to use Shadow of Nyx. That's not going to be necessary. As far as the Warrior skill tree, Charged Heavy Attack I usually use. You don't have to use it. Always want to use this right here, not the Ares Last Breath, which is what you get from the DLC. Second Wind. The Second Wind ability I use on every build just because it helps you out, especially if you're on fire or poison, knocks it clean out. You definitely want to use Weapon Master and Gear Master as it increases the amount of damage you can put out and the amount of damage you can take. You always want that stuff there. Flaming attacks we're not going to need. The Fire Mastery we're not going to need. Overpower attacks you may want to add. Overpower is always good to have. I usually go with all 3. The same thing with the Attack of Ares, the Battle Cry of Ares. I always want to add that. And if you have Ares Madness, which is from the DLC, that's always cool. It's a lifesaver, just in case. Hero or Fury of the Bloodline, you're really not going to need. That's not anything we're really going to be into. As far as the Hunter tree goes, it all depends on your style of play. I don't really use a lot of arrows unless I am like really surrounded. Then I'll try to like headshot as many people as possible. And I'll usually go with Arrow Master because you can craft all the other arrows. And as far as everything else, I always add Devastating Shot just because it does that one hit of just outstanding damage. Artemis's Trickery, that's pretty cool if you have the DLC. You're able to like knock out multiple people just by, as you can see, leaving an arrow on the ground. As soon as they walk through it, it just devastates them. And then if you're going to use any of the arrows, you definitely want to have Archery Master, maybe some overpower attacks. Ghost Arrows of Artemis, not really going to use. So those would be the skills that you would use in the tree. Now, as far as what you want in the Masteries, Let's see. We're going to come through. You probably want to add the assassin damage. Obviously, an extra 20% assassin damage is always good. Depending on if you're using swords and daggers, you definitely want to add that as well. I'm using both, so I'll add those together. Crit chance while full health. This build will make great use of this, so you definitely want to have that, as well as the crit damage while full health. Damage while full health is also going to be good on this build. You definitely want to add that as well. Chance to ignore half damage, elemental resistance, no. Poison damage if you're really going to be into like doing the poison. If you kind of convert this to a poison build, you're definitely going to want to add that. Adrenaline per hit if you have the extra points, sure. Adrenaline per crit, no. Adrenaline assassination kill, I usually add. It'll be like really outstanding. It'll be really useful. Movement speed while crouching, if you have the points to spare, maybe. Alright, adrenaline and perfectly timed dodge, no. Health gain per adrenaline spent, probably not. Damage on elites and bosses, if you kind of convert this to that kind of build, you're definitely going to want to add that. 5% chance to deal 25% of assassin damage on melee hit, you're going to want to add. This is actually going to be really good. If you're going to be attacking from behind a lot, yes, you want to add this as well. Cooldown duration for all abilities, I usually add that. If you have the points to spare, definitely go with that. Damage with assassin abilities, yes, add that. I know maxed, you see it's only 5%, but that does make a lot of difference, honestly. Damage with hero strike ability, being that I use the hero strike ability, I often use this as well. The same with the rush assassinate ability. 10%, it's really not a lot, but at the same time it is. And then damage with critical assassination ability, I usually add as well. Especially when you have an assassin build, you're definitely going to want those things. Now, as far as like the warrior set goes, there is going to be like some things you're going to want here. Maybe health stored on successful parry if you're going to be parrying a lot. Mostly with this build, you're going to be kind of like hiding in the shadows and whatnot. Warrior damage probably will not be necessary. Bladed and heavy weapons, you're not going to add that. Crit chance while low health and crit damage while low health, you may want to add that, but the thing is that you're really, the point of this build is not to take a lot of damage, it's to kind of avoid that if you can. Damage with all power abilities, if you have the extra points and you want to add it, that's fine. Health, I always go for 20% health is a lot, that's excellent. The same with total armor. As long as you have this added, you're going to be a lot less squishy, especially if you do the 25% health bar, but you have 100% extra damage. That's going to be like really big for this. Same with melee resistance. You're going to want to add that. All right. Fire damage, no. Armor, no. Let's see. Damage while low health. Again, if you feel that you're going to be low health every once in a while, you might want to add this. You may add, invest some points in this, but again, we're not going to want to do that. Damage per enemy engaged. You may want to do this, especially if you plan on like attacking multiple enemies. But again, this is more of like a warrior thing. We're more of an assassin, so you're going to think stealth. You're going to think ninja. All right. None of these other abilities you're really going to add to. Now, as far as hunter goes, a lot of these bow things, hunter damage, you may not want. Hunter damage, if you plan on using your bow a lot, then yes, you may want to add this. Spears and staff damage only if you plan on changing some of the weaponry around so that you actually have that stuff. Crit chance, crit damage, always. This is always going to be like really helpful. 25% headshot damage if you have the extra points and you want to add it. Like I say, when I'm in trouble, I usually go to my bow. I usually go from a distance as I'm like running off, turning around, shooting at the enemy. This is where this like comes into play, and like I'll use it for that. Bow charging speed if you have the points to spare, as well as bow charge shot. Damage with bows on distant targets. If you plan on firing from a distance, then definitely go with that. Damage on animals, no. Range resistance, you may want to add, especially if you're in an area that has a lot of archers, which are usually a lot of the areas I go to, so you definitely want that. Elemental buildup we're not going to need. The same with the headshot on kill. Let's see as we go further down here. Damage with hunter abilities, only if you kind of make this across like kind of like a crossover build, you may want that. Damage with devastating shot, I usually add that, especially since that's usually the only thing that I'll use. So those are the masteries that you want to go with. Now, as far as our stats, I'll show you these stats, and then we'll go into, other stats. I'll change the build around to show you what it's got. Now, as you can see, assassin damage 280%, which is decent. As we go down to the other modifiers, damage with headshots 165%, which is cool. Damage with daggers 60%. Critical hit chance and damage here 30%, 275%. That's excellent. Crit chance while full health 51% and 550%. It's a lot. That's crazy. Damage while low health, even those numbers are pretty decent. So we'll go down. Let's see, we're really not doing any like fire damage or anything like that, or like poison damage, but as you can see, if we're going with poison damage, 85%, lasting for 18 seconds, which is decent. And that's because, like I said, this is an OP kind of build that I have, where I have a lot of the mastery points and abilities all unlocked. Just research purposes. I wanted to see like what I could do, but on other builds it'll be different. Armor bonus 150%, health bonus 20%. Those are big. Melee resistance and range resistance 15% and 23.5% respectively. Big numbers if you're trying to avoid taking damage. Elemental resistance 15%, not so much. Chance to ignore half damage 20%, and that's not even really something that we're aiming for. As far as the utilities, adrenaline per hit and per critical hit 60% and 80% respectively. Those are actually decent numbers. Adrenaline on assassination kill and headshot kill 50% each, which is big. That's going to help us with our adrenaline. Bow charging speed and movement while crouching, both 20%. Movement while crouching you're definitely going to want, because you're going to want to sneak up on these guys. So let's see, again we come to my favorite little fortress over here, and we're going to go in, we're going to check out like a couple of things. We're going to sneak up on this guy over here who's standing at the gate right there. So basically, I mean, we're going to be like in his face. Now, like I said, with this kind of build, mostly I like to sneak your damage while hiding from them. And this guy found us. So this is where we want to kind of use our hero strike. So we're doing decent damage. I'd prefer, honestly, to have like way more damage. I'll probably alter it later on. I'll probably add that that thing on like the sword, most likely, where I can actually do like way more damage with like 100% more damage, but 25% health. And even mercenaries really don't do a lot of damage to me. Seeing some big numbers depending on the strike. As you can see, that was like over 1 million. Like I say, I could do like a little bit better if I were to add... Oh, look at this. With a torch, I'm actually doing a lot of damage. I don't know how that's possible. That's actually pretty hilarious. That's a nice number. My problem with the bow, I usually take too long unless like they're in my face. I like toying with these guys with the shield, it's always funny. You won't die, but you just did. I mean, come on. I mean, so far this really isn't a bad build. If you look at it, like, it's actually pretty outstanding that we were able to take these guys on without even sneaking around. Totally missed that guy. This is probably the entire fortress, too. Wow. Wow, my guy. Come on down. Yep, that's probably the entire fortress. Nobody basically stood a chance, and like we got in their face. Didn't even have to use the Ares Madness, just like with major attacks there. So it did do like a lot of big numbers, which I was really impressed by. As far as what it could do, I feel like we could crank out a little more power out of this thing. Most likely, like I said, with adding that 25% health, but, you know, like 50% or 100% damage. The reason I didn't actually do that, though, was because, like, a lot of you guys, when I do these builds and I have the only 25% health but 100% damage, a lot of you guys, like, really, you want to see the build without it. Like, I don't know, like, maybe you guys are worried, maybe you guys are, you know, like, just worried about, like, your skill sets or your abilities to handle that kind of health. I'm pretty sure you could do it. It takes a lot of practice. I wasn't even that good at it, except after, like, a lot of practice. So, you know, definitely look into that. In fact, hold on one moment. I really think that what I'm going to do is go to a different fortress after changing out or adding that ability to our thing here. So just give me a moment and let's check that out. Okay, so we're back at it, and as I said before, I was going to alter what was on the Pride of the Lion. As you can see, 100% damage, but health capped to 25%. And already you could see a lot of the damages have increased. Now, even though your health is only at 25%, it still counts as full health as long as you don't take a hit. If you don't take a hit, you don't take a shot, it will still be capped at the 25%. One of the great things about this is that using Second Wind, if you do take some damage, you're able to just get that back immediately, but then you're going to have to wait for the cooldown. But it's really not that bad. And like I said, a lot of people, for some reason, are not happy with having a build that has that. But as you can see, now our damages are even higher across the board, 380%. You'll see a lot of the other damages. We've got critical hit chance and damage, 275%. Those kind of numbers didn't change, but the damage output way across the board is all a lot bigger. It's a lot better. So we should really be seeing a lot bigger numbers as we go on our attack. So let's see what happens. And part of what I like about this kind of build is that with the assassin using the using our attacks, we're able to get a lot, which is a lot of fun. So as you can see, already the numbers are pretty big. We could still sneak up from behind. Give us some pretty decent numbers. Let's try to get down there and see if we can't attack a group. And see what that gives us. Here, we'll ruin their day first. We'll make sure that this is not available, and then we'll go down there and then we'll just start messing people up, because this is always fun. Okay, here we go. Wow, my bird killed that guy. That was pretty wild. So once we get it going, it looks like we have some decent numbers going on. Even our white numbers are actually pretty high. That was a huge number. Trouble. And as you could also see, I really wasn't using... I really didn't lose any health, honestly. And that was mainly because, you know, like you keep your distance, do your assaults. Numbers are pretty big. Even if I was in trouble, even if I was like surrounded by a bunch of guards, I could really recover from it really well. So I actually like the improvement to this build by adding the that extra damage output. The numbers are a little bit bigger, and again, I'm really not losing any health.
Hold it right there. I won't even break a sweat.
These guys are kind of pushovers. Like I said, I'm really not breaking a sweat, just going into it. And you know, like that's pretty much what you want to do with these assassin builds. These are not like, you know, get in your face and attack kind of builds. Although even while attacking, it is kind of decent. Improvements that I could make to this are obviously to find the Ostrakas and get that extra that extra attack, those extra crit damage. It was a great idea. I really want to thank you know, like you guys, especially Brian Harmon, who actually came up with the idea behind this. It's a lot of fun, and honestly, guys, if you ever want me to take a look at a build that you do, definitely give me a link to it. Or if you want to, you know, like have me try out something that is an idea of yours, definitely let me know in the comments below or direct message me, however you want to do it. I love doing these kind of things. I love doing these builds. And like I've said a million times, you guys are geniuses. You guys are great. I love this community just because you guys, I mean, you come up with like these amazing things. So definitely also give me your feedback on this. Give me your output or your input. What do you think? Do you think that you could improve this? Are there a couple of things that like you would change? By all means, let me know, and like I'll even try those changes and maybe even do a video on it. You know, like I said, you guys are excellent at this. You guys are pretty awesome. Let me know that in the comments below. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe. It helps the channel out an awful lot. And if you have any time, please, by all means, peruse the comment section where I actually have information on a sponsor of mine, Beautiful Halo, in which they sell all kinds of different clothing that's Assassin's Creed related, as well as other video games. And if you're not into video game related clothing, then check it out anyway, because they have all types of other clothes. Like I've said before, Lady Strider has definitely maxed, but it looks great on her, and like she's happy with her purchases. Anyway, again, please leave comments. Let me know what you think of this build. Let me know improvements you would make. And as always, thank you for watching.